The 19th century was a time of immense change. It was an era marked by rapid industrialization and urbanization, where the world saw the rise of factories and the decline of agrarian societies. Cities grew at an unprecedented rate, and with them came both opportunity and hardship. The Industrial Revolution transformed societies, creating vast wealth but also immense poverty. The factory floors were bustling with activity, but the conditions were often harsh and unforgiving. Workers toiled for long hours with little pay, and the gap between the rich and the poor widened dramatically. In the face of this inequality, a new ideology emerged: Marxism. It was a response to the glaring disparities and the exploitation of the working class. Karl Marx, along with Friedrich Engels, sought to understand and challenge the capitalist system that they believed was at the root of societal ills. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, writing in the midst of this turmoil, offered a powerful critique of capitalism. Their seminal work, the Communist Manifesto, laid out their vision for a society where the means of production were owned collectively and wealth was distributed more equitably. They called for a revolution, a workers' paradise where everyone would be equal. This revolutionary call to arms resonated deeply with those who felt oppressed and marginalized. The idea of overthrowing the existing order and establishing a new, just society was both radical and inspiring. Their words resonated with the downtrodden, offering hope for a better future. For many, Marxism was not just a political theory but a promise of liberation from the chains of poverty and exploitation. It gave voice to their struggles and aspirations. Marxism promised to upend the established order. It envisioned a world where the working class would rise up and seize control, dismantling the structures of power that had kept them subjugated for so long. This vision was both a beacon of hope and a call to action. It envisioned a world without class divisions, a world free from exploitation, a society where everyone had equal access to resources and opportunities, and where the fruits of labor were shared by all. This utopian ideal captured the imagination of many. This vision, captured in the fiery prose of the ignited a firestorm of debate. Intellectuals, workers, and politicians alike grappled with the ideas presented by Marx and Engels. Some saw it as a blueprint for a fairer world, while others viewed it as a threat to the existing social order. It would ultimately inspire revolutions and topple empires. The Russian Revolution of 1917 was one of the most significant events influenced by Marxist thought, leading to the establishment of the Soviet Union and a new era of socialist governance. But the path to utopia, as history would show, was paved with good intentions and unintended consequences. The revolutions inspired by Marxism often led to periods of turmoil and conflict, and the quest for a classless society proved to be fraught with challenges and contradictions. Karl Marx, born in 1818, was a German philosopher, economist, and revolutionary socialist. His ideas have had a profound impact on the world, shaping political movements and ideologies for over a century. He was a keen observer of the Industrial Revolution's impact on society, noting the stark contrasts between the burgeoning industrial wealth and the dire conditions of the working class. Marx saw capitalism as inherently exploitative, a system where the wealthy few profited immensely from the labor of the many. He argued that this exploitation was not just an economic issue, but a moral one, as it dehumanized workers and reduced them to mere cogs in the industrial machine. He believed that history was driven by class struggle, a constant tension between those who owned the means of production and those who worked for them. This struggle, he argued, was the engine of historical development and social change. Marx called for the workers of the world to unite, believing that only through solidarity and collective action could they overthrow their oppressors. He believed that through revolution, they could overthrow the capitalist system and create a classless society, free from the chains of exploitation and inequality. In this new world, the means of production would be owned collectively, and wealth would be distributed equally. This vision of a classless society was central to Marx's philosophy, and has inspired countless movements and revolutions around the globe. His ideas, laid out in his seminal works like the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital, provided a complex and detailed analysis of capitalism's flaws, offering a blueprint for a new, more just society. Marx's legacy continues to be a subject of debate and discussion, as his theories remain relevant in analyzing modern economic and social issues. The 20th century witnessed the dramatic rise of communist regimes. Inspired by Marx's ideas, revolutions swept across Russia, China, Cuba, and other nations. These revolutions promised a break from the past, a chance to build a more equitable society. Millions rallied behind the promise of equality and justice. The Soviet Union under Lenin and later Stalin emerged as the first major communist state. China, under Mao Zedong, followed suit. These regimes implemented Marxist principles, nationalizing industries and collectivizing agriculture. They sought to create a new social order, one free from the perceived injustices of capitalism. Section 4. Shadows of the Revolution. The reality of communist regimes often fell short of the utopian vision. While some social progress was made, these regimes became associated with authoritarianism, repression, and economic inefficiency. Millions suffered under totalitarian regimes, victims of political purges, forced labor camps, and brutal crackdowns on dissent. The Soviet Union under Stalin's rule witnessed widespread famine and political terror. China's Great Leap Forward, an attempt to rapidly industrialize, led to a devastating famine. These tragedies cast a long shadow over the legacy of Marxism, exposing the dangers of unchecked ideology and the human cost of revolutionary zeal. Section 5. Cracks in the Foundation. From the outset, critics challenged the fundamental tenets of Marxism. They argued that its vision of a classless society was utopian and unrealistic. They pointed to the inherent inefficiencies of centrally planned economies which stifled innovation and individual initiative. The lack of individual freedom and the suppression of dissent in communist states stood in stark contrast to the ideals of liberty and democracy. Furthermore, critics argued that Marxism's emphasis on class struggle ignored other important social divisions, such as race, religion, and ethnicity. They contended that its materialist worldview neglected the importance of spiritual and cultural values. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 and the subsequent struggles of other communist regimes seemed to validate many of these criticisms. Section 6. Echoes of Class Struggle. Despite its failures, Marxism's legacy continues to shape contemporary thought. Its critique of capitalism, particularly its focus on inequality and exploitation, remains relevant in an era of globalization and widening wealth gaps. Marxist ideas continue to influence labor movements, social justice activism, and academic discourse. The concept of class consciousness, the idea that workers share common interests and should unite against capitalist exploitation, still resonates with many. Marxist analysis is often applied to understand contemporary issues such as income inequality, the power of corporations, and the global financial system. While few advocate for a return to communist-style regimes, Marx's ideas continue to provoke debate and inspire efforts to create a more just and equitable world. Section 7. The Weight of History. The history of Marxism is a cautionary tale, a complex narrative woven through the fabric of modern civilization. It is a story of idealism and ambition, but also of unintended consequences and human suffering. The Industrial Revolution, with its promise of progress, also brought about harsh working conditions and economic disparity. It teaches us the importance of critical thinking, the dangers of utopian visions, and the need to balance grand ideals with pragmatic realities. The fervor of political debates and the passion of protests underscore the human desire for a better world. Yet they also highlight the complexities of achieving such visions. While Marxism's flaws are undeniable, its enduring legacy lies in its ability to spark debate about social justice and the future of our world. In classrooms and libraries, students and scholars continue to dissect its theories, seeking to understand its impact and relevance in today's society. As we grapple with the challenges of the 21st century, from economic inequality to climate change, it is essential to learn from the past. The bustling cities of today, with their stark economic divides and the growing urgency of environmental protests, remind us of the ongoing struggle for a more just and sustainable world. Marxism's failures should not obscure its insights. The collapse of communist states and the crises they endured serve as stark reminders of the pitfalls of certain ideologies. yet they also offer valuable lessons on governance, economics, and human nature. By understanding its strengths and weaknesses, we can better address the enduring questions of social justice and human progress. Scholars and thinkers continue to engage in rigorous debates, dissecting the nuances of Marxist theory to extract lessons applicable to contemporary issues. The quest for a more equitable world continues, informed by the lessons of history and the enduring power of ideas. As communities come together, working towards common goals, the spirit of collaboration and shared purpose drives us forward, ever mindful of the weight of history and the potential for a brighter future.